So, high chance of a tropic depression or tropical storm forming in the Gulf of Mexico later this week. And I say that because we don't have any really confirmation of the word hurricane yet.
Well, you might have heard a little bit of a buzz about a possible tropical depression.
Yeah, we did. Okay, so at a glance, an area of low pressure will form along the front in the northern Gulf of Mexico on Wednesday. This is an area where July tropical storms have formed in the past. If enough thunderstorms persist around the area of low pressure, tropical depression or storm could form. The future track and intensity of this potential tropical system are uncertain, and we're only a couple of days away from it, so it's actually kind of amazing that so many people are disagreeing with what's happening here. But we'll talk about low pressure will form in the Gulf of Mexico later this week on Wednesday, and there is an increasing likelihood of it gradually becoming a tropical depression or storm. But its potential future track and impacts are still uncertain. The National Hurricane Center has outlined an 80% chance of tropical development late in the week in the northern Gulf of Mexico. This area of interest has been deemed Invest 92L by the National Hurricane Center. That's a naming convention used to identify weather systems that could potentially develop into tropical depression, blah, 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 blah. The previously mentioned area of low pressure is expected to develop in the northeastern Gulf of Mexico on Wednesday, according to the NHC. If the circulation center remains over the water and becomes better defined with concentrated shower and thunderstorm activity, then it could become a tropical depression or storm late this week. In the near-term future, pockets of heavy rain may trigger some localized flash flooding the first half of the week from the northern Gulf Coast to Florida, the parts of the southeast. This rain will be caused by the upper level disturbance. And even right now, folks, 1 to 2 inches tops, looks like, in some of these areas. So here we are, late week. This is the low pressure system. They're not sure which way it's going yet. And I've seen lots of smack talk out there about this storm coming up. Not really going to get into that. Let's go ahead and take a look at GFS. And we'll do our own research. Oh, here's some hail. More hail for you here. And this is Idaho. Mari actually showed me some flooding in this area as well, in southeast Idaho. Take a look at our live weather map right now. All that rain that was in the DC area has moved off, but North Carolina and South Carolina is getting pounded with some showers. Let's go ahead and take a look and see this. Yeah, we got windy up. All right. As you see right now, not a whole lot of major action happening at this point. We do see showers and thunderstorms in North Dakota, parts of southern South Dakota. Nebraska, you're getting hit pretty good right now. Eastern part of Colorado, entering in near Almena, Kansas, and Norton, Kansas. You're going to get some rain. Billings, Montana, with some decent rainfall. Lots of lightning out there too, folks. Smaller storms in the south, nothing really too major happening at this time to speak of. So let's take a look at this storm. There's several models to look at, by the way, guys. And GFS, basically, let's get the old arrow out here, guys. Let's pay attention where this is going to be. I'll move it up a couple clicks. Here we are on July 11th right here. That looks like what might be the possible center of this storm where my arrow is pointing at. But let's watch this area. July 12th. Now, this is the GFS model. GFS, out of all of these models, has been the sloppiest, the most disorganized storm model so far. And this thing is kind of just hanging out in the Gulf for a few days. Thankfully, not on land so far. But as we go into July 13th into the 14th, landfall finally happens. But guys, the GFS system has this storm just gone. Just some thunderstorms and shower activity across the south through the rest of the month, through the Great Lakes, Ohio Valley. So, then we got another Eastern Pacific storm that just kind of peters out too once it gets to the Baja. So let's go back here and let's check out a couple different models. Let's go to the Euro, because the Euro right now is the most aggressive out of all of them. And let's take a look. This is July 8th. Here we are, July 12th. we have something forming here. Let's go ahead and get this. I know, terrible combination here. You can barely see my arrow, but this storm here, the Euro has it making landfall right around near the Houston area or the Louisiana border. And let's take a look and see what we have. Yeah, so right there on the border, landfall. This is July 14th on a Sunday. And this storm kind of wanders out towards Oklahoma, across Oklahoma and Tulsa, Oklahoma City, I should say, before it kind of gets on a track and heads out across the Midwest. And a good chance that we could see some remnant rainfall in Arkansas, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, parts of northern Kentucky, and further eastward. So that's the Euro. Right now, the Euro version has it looking the scariest. And that's a pretty impressive looking storm right there at 990. If that were to hold, that could be a decent Cat 2, Cat 3 storm. 986 as it's over land. That's a pretty low. Not terribly low, but pretty low. So this storm could be pretty impactful. And it's really going to have to be one of these things we're going to have to watch on a daily basis. Because I'm telling you, this storm shifts one way to the other. It's going to make all the difference when it comes to where this thing is going to track. And, you know, my question, or my thoughts, according to this storm is going to move up through Oklahoma, through Missouri, into Illinois, Ohio, and through the mid-Atlantic states, southern Pennsylvania, and off into the Atlantic. That's just my speculation according to the Euro model, if I had to guess where that storm is going. Other models don't have it moving that direction whatsoever. Let's see, this one's the Canadian storm model. This has it making landfall in the New Orleans area on the 13th. Before it makes landfall, goes across the southern region of the United States, kind of weakens a bit and heads out through the northeast and into the Atlantic. And let's see, the JMA. Let's go backwards. Really, it doesn't have it showing up much at all on their forecast models. So back to the GFS we go. I will. And once again, we'll take a look at that system. GFS doesn't have much of it. If anything, this could be just a tropical depression at best, according to the GFS. Lots of rain to the south, though. I mean, let's not lose perspective here. We're still going to see lots of rain down here. It's just we're not sure if we're going to see it in the form of a strong hurricane yet. The Euro model says yes. The GFS says no. This is classic model wars, as we always see this time of the year. We'll just have to wait until we get closer to the event. But let's take a look at the rest of the United States weather. Across the south, we stay wet. Upper Midwest stays wet as well across the Great Lakes. Western New York on July 14th, we'll be dealing with a hurricane in the Gulf. And then the precipitation that we're going to experience in Buffalo on the 14th is going to feel like tropical moisture. And that will spread across the state of New York, move off to the Atlantic Ocean by Monday. Before on Monday, July 15th, actually looks pretty decent. When you talk about precipitation, things kind of look a little quiet mid-month, but not for long as the atmosphere reloads and begins that wet pattern once again. And now we're seeing bouts of moisture in the upper Midwest, the Great Lakes, and the Northeast. And of course, this same little ridge line right here is going to continue to just track moisture over the same areas that don't need it. And like I said, we will be talking more about crop reports on our next broadcast, which is on Wednesday, 9 p.m. Taking a look at our weather for our friends up north. Lots of precipitation in the BC area, still a flow. That's where we're getting all this moisture for the upper Great Lakes and the northern plain states. A constant flow of moisture being shot through the northwestern parts of the United States, coming from Canada, the BC area. So if there is a silver lining in this, the state of Kansas, for the most part, you're looking at a good chance of dry weather starting on the 11th of July. And that is an extended period, for you farmers out there in Kansas and Nebraska, and it looks like Missouri, we get about a 5-day period. Yeah, about 5 or 6 day period of drier weather. So good news there for farmers out there in the mid. But let's check out temperatures. I mean, are we even warm enough by, let's say here, let's go the 11th, 13th. I mean, good Lord. Daytime highs, low 80s, some 90s in western Kansas. That is hot out there, by the way. I've lived in that part of the United States, and it gets really hot in western Kansas. Not so much towards the eastern side, but desert hot out there in the Plain States. So, dry weather mixed in with heat, this could help the crops a little bit. Is it enough? I don't know. Looking at the heat in the northeast seems to be dwindling, in my opinion, as we get closer to the end of July. And then looks like around the 24th of July, we see it increase along the east coast. We'll get a heat wave. The central plain states and Texas, normal weather there for you. Same with Southern California, Arizona, parts of Northern Cal, a little bit hot. Typical summer pattern, folks. Unfortunately, summer and this hot and dry weather is about 30 to 45 days late for most of these farmers who, yes, this is good, we're getting some dry time, that's awesome, but the damage is done, folks. And we can only hope that we can get some suitable work done and get these crops going. Let's hope that we can see the moisture, but our evidence doesn't show us that we're going to see a decrease in cosmic rays or a decrease in these rain bomb events, flash flooding all over the world, not just here in the U.S., but everywhere. So that's going to pretty much cover everything for tonight on Monday, July 8th, 2019. Mari, would you like to come over here and greet everyone? We'll take a look at this, North Atlantic. It's off the chain right now. Pretty warm.
People are asking what La Nina and El Nino is doing, and I just said it's pretty neutral.
It's very neutral. How about almost zero? So that's pretty neutral. And I think a lot of folks were predicting, especially Noah was predicting an El Nino to go through late fall, which that is falling apart quickly.
Fizzle pop. I just stepped on something. Don't worry me. It's just your cell phone, Jake.
It's probably
I'm just knocking it over. How's everyone doing in the chat? Wow, hard to keep up with what everyone's saying in the chat, but I did catch a few things. Riverstick88 says Texas corn is being eaten by army worms.
Oh no.
Grasshopper pesticides are ineffective so far from what he can tell from driving around.
I know I always do this to you, but when you make these comments, you bring them up and I have to comment, but isn't this the same problem that they're having in China?
Yes, Adapt 2030 has covered that quite a bit. David Dubine, he's been talking about this armyworm problem quite a bit. It's not just the weather. We're having this increased moisture is allowing more bugs to come out, pest bugs. So, and not only bugs, there's people discussing disease plants. I recently read a paper that was speculating that cosmic rays might have some type of correlation with like trees. If you look at all the trees, they have like a weird green like fungus on it. I forget what it's called. But there's actually research going on, people trying to trace back and seeing if it is in fact cosmic rays that are doing this to the trees, which that's what they're speculating apparently. So Interesting. Edith Eden is new to our channel, and she did a super chat. Thank you very much, Edith, from Texas.
All right.
Zenith says cosmic ray levels should reach levels much higher than during the previous grand minimums, because we're also experiencing a magnetic pole reversal, which also weakens the magnetosphere. So
I can agree with that.
We have several different challenges that we're facing, and pretty much what people need to do is just be prepared. Get prepared. Start today. Plant, potatoes. People are recommending beans, things that are easy to start, and get stocked up. Robbie says he'll see us Wednesday. He very much missed us over the weekend, and he has bought a few things to support our missions for GSM. So I'm assuming he means t-shirts and stuff. So thank you very much, Robbie. We appreciate your support very much. And all of you in the chat spending this time with us for the hour or so, couple hours a week with us, we really very much appreciate it. You all are very wonderful. And I'm just tired. I got a case of the Mondays today, Jake. Can you hear it? I'm just not this happy little ray of sunshine that I usually am, It's all right. We're good. That's all I got, Jake.
All right. Thank you very much, guys. We appreciate you tuning in to the Grand Solar Minimum News Update tonight for July 8th, 2019. Please join us again on July 10th, Wednesday, that is, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, for another Grand Solar Minimum News Update. Please check us out on Twitter at Grand Solar Min, Facebook Grand Solar Minimum. Also, go to our website, thegrandsolarminimum.com. That's thegrandsolarminimum.com. And for all you Patreon members out there, we dropped a podcast interview that we did with kind of like an agriculture talk type podcast called Moving Iron. So we have uploaded that on if you're a member of Patreon, you can go ahead and check that out at your earliest convenience. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us tonight. Please take care, and remember, we will talk soon.
Do you like this show? Give us a thumbs up. Want to support us more? Share to your favorite social media platform. Buy a t-shirt or become a Patreon. All links are in the description below.